Here we go.
And we are live.
Good. Hello, everybody. Hey, always, let's bring Psalms 4:8. In peace, I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. That safety net of God is just incredible, people. I appreciate that Bible app. It just brings some good things to my mind each day. Again, we're sorry for starting a few minutes late. We were having some technical difficulties. It's like we do the exact same thing, and all of a sudden, bam, it's working. So here we are, and finally on. We got Annie back, so welcome back, Annie. Are you ready to do a show?
Oh, very excited. I actually am very excited. You have organic acid test results. Let's see what's going on.
We are. So, I mean, those of you who are new to the show, I know I went on live this morning on KDKA and was being played around the Pittsburgh airline. So if any of you are new out there, join the chat, say hello. Annie typically brings me her phone. I can look at the what the chat list and what you guys are saying. Last week I kind of figured it out on my own. I can see if I can do that again today. I'll just open up my YouTube here to see if I've got it. But I'm a naturopathic doctor, pharmacist, and just welcome. And what we want to do is just talk health. How do we equip you? How to take care of yourself? Each week we try to bring some aspects, but we always go back to that urine, that saliva testing, and getting a functional basis of where we are, and then moving forward from there. So I think I have the live chat. Excellent. Prophet Bear is out there. May I be made in a mod in the live. Okay. Good morning, Betty. Hello. How are you? I will chat as Vitalometry and say hi, everyone. And I don't know how to do a smiley face, but that works for me. So if you guys are out there, I'm going to ask you again, just say, give the thumbs up, share this stuff, because otherwise people are not going to hear about it. Those of you who have a difficulty finding my channel, that's because they don't let it pop up in those search engines readily, and you have to know what you're looking for. And so what we do is each week we talk about general health. We apply things. We've used Annie as a guinea pig. She's done quite a few things here. We put her through a series of colonics. We have her doing some detox, and through that assessment, we've even gone through and shared Annie's numbers from a standpoint of what we call Ream's biological theory of ionization, RBTI, and explaining that urine and saliva and how important that is as a system of measurement to understanding what's going on. And so, but you know, the problem is I'm not Dr. Kerry Reams, and I am not somebody who can turn around and look at those numbers and tell you exactly what's going on and where in the body it's going on. I am a clinician, and I can look at those numbers and say, this system is overburdened. This system is in need of certain support. These are minerals that you're definitely deficient in, and these are minerals that are just not being made available, and your symptoms can be explained because X, Y, and Z. So when you look at these numbers, it really gives inclination or insight as to the why, what's going on, you know. Otherwise, as a clinician, I'm just trying to figure out more why. This is great information, and anybody could do this, but sometimes there's a hole. It's like the numbers aren't moving, and I'm like, why are the numbers not moving? And that's where some of the things like I want to talk about today come into play. So today we were going to introduce the concept of, I mentioned it a little bit about organic acid testing. And organic acids are natural things that come out in your urine. You know, we send it off to a lab. They test your urine, and they look for all these markers. They look for fungal markers. They look for bacterial markers. They look for markers of detoxification, markers of cellular energy and mitochondrial function, markers of nutritional deficiency, markers of just imbalance, you know. And when we see that if a marker is out of balance, then bottom line, you know, something went into the body analytically that says, hey, that marker only goes up if this is happening, because that's biochemistry. We're looking at chemistry of the body. So it can seem a little bit technical, but I do want to share some stuff today. And Annie, you're a typical guinea pig. We had you do this. And, I don't know if you looked at this and got it home. I know I sent it to you. What was your impression of you first looked at this?
Of my organic acid test?
Correct.
I haven't looked at any of it.
Are you serious?
Blind. I am flying blind with this. Yes, I'm very anxious to see what's come up. You did tell me a little bit, the basics, just mold and all the normal things that are wrong with people. But I don't have an in-depth look. I haven't looked at it myself.
Oh my. Well, let's get on here. I am going to go to share my screen, and I am going to bring up Annie's organic acid test. And that's my mycotox. Where is it? It's supposed to be here. Let me see. Go in here. And there we go. Okay, so I'm assuming that you guys are looking at a Great Plains Laboratory test here. And so this is what...
No. Keep it. You need to open it. I can see.
It is
open.
I
can see the window that you selected it on, but I can't see the actual document.
You should come in here because it's wide open on my screen and I'm scrolling up and down it.
All right, hold on. Let me see.
Let me go and see.
I'm trying to try something on my end and see. Nope. Okay, I stopped your share. Try one more time and then I'll come in.
Okay, so I'm not sharing anymore?
No, I took it down.
Okay, so let me go back in here. Hi, everybody.
Sorry.
I'm working on this.
Oh, have mercy.
Okay, let's go to share screen. And right there and share.
Okay.
How's that?
There, we got it.
Okay. So when we look at this, when we look at organic acid testing, we're looking at a bunch of markers. Basically, this test is quite simple. You collect your morning urine. You go through, you grab, you want your first morning urine. That stuff that when we're doing RBTI, we say, do not carry this. And as you go down this, it says very first section, that blue says intestinal microbial overgrowth markers. And then the first one are yeast and fungal markers. And what do you see? You see a few things that are jumping out and are higher than where they ought to be. Citramalic is elevated, typically in association. It's produced by a Saccharomyces species in overgrowth. So when you're taking whole food supplements and when you're taking some of the natural supplements where people are using Saccharomyces, Boulardii, or other forms of Saccharomyces to carry it. I know Garden of Life uses Saccharomyces as a carrier for all of their type of natural supplements. You can see that this can be a little bit overgrowth because that is a mold aspect. But the two that are jumping out down here is that arabinose and that carboxy citric. And look at them on it. They are more than 2 standard deviations, really, really high. And that basically says that arabinose is primarily produced by Candida, and then
no.
What's that?
I said, oh no.
Right. And then the carboxycitric is just yeast fungal metabolites, suggest that it's in your gut. That happens when it's happening inside the gastrointestinal tract. So you got an overgrowth inside the gastrointestinal tract. And there are going to be some other markers as we go down here that is going to correlate with that. So you go down and you can see that there's some bacterial markers, like this bottom one, DHPPA, says, hey, when this is way elevated, some people can be taking too much of a good thing. Hey, too much bifidobacteria, too much of those lactobacillus species, and say you can have overgrowth of good bacteria where people think that probiotics good, so I'm going to take even more in excesses of it. Next, you go into clostridial markers. And clostridial markers are just plain nasty, people. We always hear about C. difficile, and people go into a hospital and getting C. difficile, but there are others, and you'll see some of them listed there. Clostridium, I think it's like Sporogenes and Stricklandii, and I don't want to sit here and try to butcher some of the names, But when clostridial markers appear, bottom line, that is one of the first priorities that people need to take care of when they appear in people's organic acid test. because Clostridia just messes with your neurotransmitters, messes with so many various markers that show up on an organic acid test. As we scroll down, they go through, and this little diagram here, if you look at it, the top is a Krebs cycle. That's how we generate energy. And if you look inside that first circle, you're going to see where it says isocitrate lysase, Candida Krebs cycle only, where isocitrate gets converted to succinate when Candida is present. So what we'll do is we'll look through and see if your organic acid testing has a high succinate, which sometimes can be say, hey, therein lies another thing, a conversion, and suggest that yeast and mold are present. You go down here, they also are showing this aspects of neurotransmitters, how phenylalanine goes to tyrosine, forms dopamine, and then you got to have vitamin B6 for that. And then dopamine forms this thing called HVA, or dopamine goes to norepinephrine and forms this VMA. And this gives us an idea of imbalance of neurotransmitters. So as we scroll through here, we go through the next section. And the first is oxalate metabolism. And that glyceric and oxalic and glycolic, what you find is typically when people have yeast and mold, the glycines, the glyceric gets converted to oxalates. And oxalates cause pain, Annie. Mm-hmm. So, and we know history of pain, but oxalates also form crystals. Like you'll see people who get kidney stones, and people who just, there's stories of, for example, autistic kids who just don't want to go pee, and they scream when they pee because it hurts so bad. And these kids are literally forming calcium oxalate crystals in their ureters, and they're trying to pee them out, and it just hurts. And it's because these kids are loaded with mold and fungus, and these oxalate form up. So you have to reduce the oxalate load in their diet. But then we go down, and the next one are some glycolic acid, lactic and pyruvic. Lactic acid, we know, gets built up when people are exercising. Sometimes you'll see the lactic acid markers go up when people are having issues with Clostridia and other types of B vitamin deficiencies, bacterial overgrowth. Those type of things can cause that. As we go back up, when we're looking at those oxalate metabolites, if you have that glyceric acid, that happens in helps you to rule out whether there's a genetic cause. If that's elevated, it's called a type 2 hyperoxaluria, high oxalates in the urine. And if they're normal, that says that you don't, that means that oxalic acid that's high for you is not high because you have a genetic issue. It's being elevated because of something else going on in your body. So then we go down to that succinic, and so when you see succinic being elevated, this says, Annie, you need more testing, because succinic means they say elevated in more than 80 to 90% of the cases. When I was down learning about these things, that succinic goes elevated when you have some type of environmental toxicity. Typically you're going to see it due to a variety of possible metals or non-metal toxic exposures. So when you see this, they're typically going to suggest to you to do what they call a GPL, a toxicity test, that looks for everything from organophosphate, pesticides, to, I did one of these and I was high in styrenes and acrylamides. And I'm like, where am I getting that? And then I kicked back and said, oh, I eat Thai food once or twice a week, and they put it in a styrofoam container. No wonder I have styrenes in me. So now whenever I order my Thai food, I'm like, can you at least put it in that plastic? It's a little bit more stable, doesn't break down. And they're just like, well, we don't use that except for dinner portions. I'm like, give me a lunch portion, but put it in plastic, not styrenes. Just a way to lower my load, because I tested positive for those styrenes. But that succinic goes up, typically indicates that you can either have a riboflavin deficiency, you can have a CoQ10 deficiency, but also suggests that there is some type of environmental exposure history that's going on with you. And so that's where we might turn around and we're going to look and see if there's any markers that are consistent with those deficiencies. That fumaric acid typically means that there's impaired Krebs cycle function from a decrease in our mitochondrial aspect. So your mitochondria is what generates energy. So earlier we talked, I need to get a drink, but earlier we were mentioning a possible need for CoQ10 or riboflavin, and those are some of the nutrients that might be important with your ability to generate energy. Let me get a drink. So we go down here and we say, okay, we know Annie's got some markers for mold. We know that she has some markers that are suggesting that there's environmental issues. As we keep coming down, that 3, what I can't remember that 3. Which one is that? Is that hydroxyglutaric? I think the hydroxyglutaric again goes back and is in association with how your body, those are mitochondrial markers. And so where we're up here saying that fumaric is elevated because of mitochondrial issues in the Krebs cycle, that 3-hydroxyglutaric says that you may need some type of support. Sometimes lysine, carnitine, mitochondrial issues are going on. So it happens. That enzyme here, I found a little note on it. It says that the enzymes involved in the breakdown of lysine and tryptophan, and can be associated with a genetic disease, but also glutaric acid diarrhea, meaning that you're forming these increased acids in your urine. Again, that's probably from something triggering it, more than likely mold. Okay, so again, I'm going to turn around with you having those high markers and those yeast markers, you having a high succinic, but the fumaric, that 3-hydroxyglutaric down here being 2 standard deviations out with the mitochondria, something's messing up your mitochondria. You come down here, and then we go to neurotransmitter metabolites, and I showed you that little graph earlier that talked about how phenylalanine and dopamine, helps to form dopamine that makes this HVA, or it gets converted to a VMA depending on what's going on. And this HVA to VMA ratio is often elevated because there's a decreased conversion of dopamine to norepinephrine. And there's an enzyme called dopamine beta hydroxylase if you go into chemistry. And so that enzyme is inhibited by Clostridia. That enzyme is inhibited by mold in some cases. So we're looking at why is this. So, but bottom line, you got a dopamine issue, Annie. So that means that you may be a little depressed. You may not have the energy and pick up to go in the morning that you want. And that next one, DOPAC. DOPAC is elevated again due to the inhibition of that enzyme DBA, dopamine beta hydroxylase. From food additives, you can get it from things like aspartame, can be due to a copper or a vitamin C deficiency or a malic acid deficiency. So again, we're trying to say, hey, something's inhibiting an enzyme that's converting, that affects your neurotransmitters, that can affect your mood. So Annie, are you moody?
No. I try not to be. Aren't we all?
I don't know. I'm possibly.
No, I am. Some way. Absolutely.
But what this is doing is giving us a roadmap. Mm-hmm. It's giving us a roadmap and say, hey, that you've got some things going on here. And so that DOPAC being elevated and then coming down, and this low 5 HIAA say that there might be an issue with your conversion of serotonin. So serotonin, dopamine levels being off. Oh my God, Annie, you need Prozac.
All right.
Or Lexapro, because it works on both of them.
Cymbalta is what they gave me ages ago.
There you go, which works on both of them. So again, we're working on that. So we keep going on. We're going to move on. We got through the oxalate metabolites. We're going to go to the next section. The neurotransmitters are a little bit off. We go through ketone acids. So when you see that your ketones and these things are off, this usually comes from diet. And this means Annie's not scared to eat some fats like keto or something to that effect. So this is how you're processing fats a little bit. And typically you're just looking at if it's completely imbalanced. This is suggesting that you're bringing some fats into your diet. And I don't have a problem with that. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we look and see if it's causing imbalances in some people. But when you're having pain and those type of things, I have no concern with that at all. Mm-hmm. We go to the next are the nutritional markers. And when these markers like pyridoxic is being elevated, or we particularly like vitamin C being elevated, typically on an organic acid test, vitamin C is low because vitamin C breaks down readily, except high vitamin C levels is associated with people who have mold or yeast issues. So guess what, Annie? You have another marker saying you need mold testing. Yeah. And so there is something that's cranking out in you. And so for those of you who know about my product, Vitalometry, we're trying to come out. I'm working on my next product, and it's going to be called Moldies. And why? Because it's amazing that since I've been doing this, how many people are actually toxic in mold metabolites. And we're going to educate you about mold over the next few weeks. I'm going to show you videos where the agricultural industry is highly aware, the livestock industry is highly aware, but in the medical establishment, it is kind of suppressed to where people don't hear it. So as we go through and look at this elevation right here, when this is too high, that riboflavin deficiency right here, when this is high, that suggests that you're deficient in riboflavin. When this is high, it means you're deficient in a little bit of B6. And so what's that saying? That remember we went back to that marker earlier, and I said that it is association with a little bit of riboflavin or need for CoQ10 as a mitochondrial marker. Mm-hmm. And then we go back to these other markers up here with regards to your conversion of your dopamine. And then when we go back here, we can turn around and see, wait a minute, in order to convert dopamine to make it, what do you need right there?
Mm-hmm. B6, yeah.
B6. So it's giving you a roadmap of saying there's some nutrient addresses that we specifically need to address. And then when we're looking at RBTI, we look at whether you have a high sugar to salt ratio, which you typically do. Remember that? Sure. And when you have a high sugar to salt ratio, what's the primary nutrient that we were told to take? Vitamin B6. So again, RBTI, I already have told you to take B6. I think I could put you on methyl benefits, but we might want to do a little bit more, just kind of watch that and see if that sugar to salt ratio starts to occur. But again, this is showing like, hey, you're more than a single standard deviation out right here. So therefore, B6 for your neurotransmitters, riboflavin, your B12 is holding in there, but I'm giving it to you because you showed markers. But when your body starts using B12, the activation of that B12 requires B2, riboflavin. And so you could get dry mouth. Dry mouth is the first sign of need for B2. Mm-hmm. It's called angular chelosis. Do you ever deal with that?
Yeah. What about like your lips cracking occasionally? That'll happen sometimes.
Yeah, that's a B2 deficiency. Bingo. It's
not all the time, but it does happen.
It's all coming back. See? So we look at these nutritional markers, then we keep moving forward, and then it goes into, where are we? Indicators of detoxification, okay? So when you see these aspects of pyroglutamic acid elevation are usually associated with a glutathione deficiency. Also, with this second one here, when glutathione is depleted by excess of toxic exposure, pyroglutamic may also be elevated. But this one right here, this 2-hydroxybutyric, this gets elevated when you have environmental exposures and or, again, I don't know if yeast. I think yeast, but most often environmental toxins can cause this, like heavy metals. So again, hair analysis. Looking at these metals, because Annie, you got a little bit of metal in you. Mm. The question is whether they're a little imbalanced. But this right here is saying that your body is not able to make glutathione appropriately, and that glutathione is you have to have some certain nutrients. For another thing called superoxide dismutase, you have to have a little bit of copper. And you had another marker that suggested the possibility of a copper deficiency, i.e., Annie, time for a hair analysis.
Okay.
But this is when most people turn around and take glutathione. You have to have selenium. You have to have zinc as a mineral basis. So that's why, did I put you on selenium and zinc?
Tri-mineral, yeah.
Yep, I did. And then, sometimes we can give a product called N-acetylcysteine, NAC, and that will help because you go down here to this next amino acid markers. I'm not really sold on amino acid markers, and they really don't address that very much. But I want to go back up here, and if you look here, NAC, N-acetylcysteine, a precursor for glutathione, and you're on the low end. So again, your aspects of how your body is able to detoxify is a little bit on the compromised section. So the last one, this phosphoric, when we see low phosphoric, that they find that that's directly associated with a vitamin D deficiency. And so yours is doing okay. You're hanging in there. You're holding on. I would go by your RBTI numbers as to whether we needed to do those type of things or not. But bottom line, this is giving us some metabolites that say, Annie, there's some issues going on. You know, when we see some of these, I know this marker right here, this 3-methyl-2-oxovaleric, that's one of the markers that can be associated with vitamin B1, thiamine utilization. You know, and so that taking thiamine may help improve clinical symptoms of when something like that happens, because these metabolites are byproducts of vitamin utilization in the body, how your body's using it. But I don't want to get technical. But bottom line, Annie, we got more direction. We have something that's saying there's some imbalances here. There's some things that we want to address, and over time that we're going to address. I'm going to take a quick peek at what people are saying here. Good morning. Red Label message retracted. Oh my, Red Label, I don't know. Were you saying something that we shouldn't hear? Vitalometer, I said, hi, good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, no questions this morning. And so, but I want you guys to see the aspects of analytics. Why do we test analytics? And bottom line is, even an organic acid test can be a little misleading, because if I turn around and show you my organic acid test, I didn't have anything jumping out. There were no markers that said you had anything going on. And so I'm going to go back to share my screen, see that if I can pull some stuff up here for you. Let me get in here, go into Misak organic acid test. Where are you? Here it comes. Okay, so look, I don't have any markers. I have a slight arabinose.
You gotta try again. I don't know why it does this, but
okay, I'm gonna stop my.
Yep, try again.
All right, I'm gonna try again.
I don't know what this thing does.
And share. So when you're looking at my organic acid test, hey, I got a slight marker of arabinose, which says there might be a little bit of yeast, but this can be dietary mediated. All of my neurotransmitter markers, my Clostridium markers, they're all in balance. We go over here and we look at my slight oxalic that can be associated with yeast, but that also can be associated with dietary intake. I don't have a high succinic. Again, that's that marker that says that I might have environmental exposure. And believe me, when I turned around and tested those things, I did test positive. I come over here, my neurotransmitters are showing balance. That elevation right there, say, hey, doc, you might need a little bit of dopamine support. Hey, doc, you might need a little bit of serotonin. I might be moody. I don't know. Okay, but it's still within normal balance. We look at my my folic acid metabolites are showing okay. My ketone fatty acids are showing I'm not doing a high-fat diet. My B vitamin markers are all normal, and my vitamin C is low. Low vitamin C says, hey, not a real big marker unless it's elevated like Annie's, which is consistent with yeast and mold. We come over to my detoxification markers. Look, right where, come on, stop it. Right where they're supposed to be. We come to my amino acid markers. They're all pretty much within normal. I do, and then we go to my phosphoric. Oh, doc, you need some vitamin D. And I definitely need vitamin D. I try to take about 5 to 10,000 units a day. So that is sitting there saying, hey, you don't have an issue. Now I'm like, the hell with that. There's no way that's true, because I have had direct mold exposure. I have symptoms that are very much consistent with mold. And so I'm going to turn around and share one more screen with you here. And now we're going to look at my mold testing. So when you go through and you test for mold, guess what? Me, when I cleaned out my basement and I dealt with something, I got some exposure. Ochratoxin above 20, definite high percentile of ochratoxin. MPA, mycophenolic acid, suggested I got a little bit of imbalance in my digestive tract. And then over here on the second page, you can see that I had this. I want to see who could pronounce that. I don't know. Is it Globicin? I don't know. But that is a mold that in this citrinin, that mold right there, when you go over and you look at ochratoxin, which is primarily the primary one that most people find. And this is in your food, people. About 80%, if you're eating grains, corn, wheat, oats, if you're eating peanuts, if you're drinking coffee, you are exposed to ochratoxin. What does it do? Nephrotoxic, messes with your kidneys. Immunotoxic, run down your immune system. Carcinogenic, known to cause cancer. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, directly been associated with it. When we're looking at those markers of Clostridia messing earlier on organic acid testing, and Clostridia markers messing with people's dopamine directly, there were case reports presented where people just had overgrowth of mold and Clostridia, and their Parkinson's disease completely went away. But ochratoxin is totally toxic to people. And then you go to this other one, I don't know, Globicin, I don't know, but it's basically in people who have found water-damaged houses. Up to 49% of water-damaged buildings have been found to have it. Highly toxic, disrupts cellular division and movement, and then you go through and they talk about binding it up and stuff like that. Again, we're talking about mycotoxins and what to do about them. And another motivation for me to create my next product to start dealing with this stuff. So here I had a normal organic acid testing, and I asked myself, why? Why the heck do I have all these normal organic acids, yet I turn around and my mycotoxin is off the chart? And because I knew it would be, because I had mold in my basement, I had water damage, I wore a nice little mask. I can show you guys my picture. I got a hat, one of the things with the canisters on it. I ripped it all out, sprayed it with enzyme cleaner, cleaned it up. I've tried, but I can't until I figure out how to afford to get the water away from my house. I still have open walls in my basement, because if it pours down rain and I get water in, what's going to happen? More mold. Had to rip out carpets. Now I can at least suck up the water, get rid of it, keep my dehumidifier going, control the mold. And then I run an air purifier that does both ozone, radiocatalytic ionization, hydroxyl groups that we've talked about on previous shows to kind of keep that mold under control. But I have symptoms. I wake up, I got snot, people. I get congested. I do notice that if I'm home over the weekends and the more that I'm in my house, I'm more tired. I have a toxic house. And so I'm waiting. I have a 15-year-old dog. I have a carpet that needs to be pulled, but I can't pull it because the time frame of pulling the carpet to putting in a new floor, and we want to put in a laminate floor, my 15-year-old dog would just wipe out, won't be able to walk. And so we're waiting for time for the dog to have to be put down because we got to deal with these things. I got to deal with the source. It's the same in natural medicine. Go with the source. What is happening? RBTI is what we use to identify the deficiencies. I can tell by my RBTI numbers and my consistent urine pH diving down to 5.8 that says I need vitamin D. And as I take my vitamin D, probably between 5 and 10,000 units consistently, my pH comes up to 6.4 to 6.6. Why don't I keep taking it? I don't know. I'm my worst patient. But, the idea is I can turn around and on my organic acid test, the only thing it shows that I have a vitamin D deficiency. It shows that there's a little bit of imbalance on the mold, but nothing compared to what my mycotoxin test. I couldn't find my my other GPL tox test. I was going to put that up this morning as well because it showed that I had styrenes in me. It showed that I had trace amounts of gas metabolites. It showed that I had acrylonitrites, which are acrylamides, which are converted in food. You'll find them in certain foods, and I think it's my Thai food addiction. I honestly do. And so that's where I'm getting those environmental toxins from eating out versus cooking the food myself. But why am I telling you guys all this? Did you see that? Come on, Annie.
It's so bad. Gotta cook.
Yeah. So I took Annie to after we finally got the show live and everything. I took her up to Thai food, and she's like, "Doc, I don't know what to order." Like she had never been to a Thai restaurant before in her life.
I made curry over the weekend though, and it was delightful. So you've ruined me.
There you. And I'm like, let's get this. And so I ordered Thai food, and she's like, "Oh my God, this is incredible." I mean, what was your experience, right?
Oh, it's delightful. I love it.
Yeah. And so it, fresh vegetables, curry flavored. Sometimes I'm getting tofu. My concern there is it organic?
I had pho the other day.
GMO
The Vietnamese soup. Oh my gosh, it was delightful. They put rice noodles in, and then some other kind of noodle type thing, but it's delightful. I don't know what I was eating, but I want more.
Bean sprouts, yeah. Oh my God, that's my other.
It's amazing. I couldn't believe how good it was.
Yeah, we say pho, and I think it's pho or something like that. Oh my God, that's another one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. You guys got any questions out there? Good morning. Oh, like come on.
Betty's been on the wrong video. Ugh. I gotta see what happened this morning.
Okay. So it says that there's only 4 people in on this live chat. And if that's the case, people, I'm going to cut this short. If there's no chat, there's nothing. I mean, bottom line, the reason that I do the show. Okay. You guys better start giving thumbs up and better start doing some chat, or I'm gonna tune out for the day. But bottom line, the reason that we do this is to show you is that there's a functional and there's an analytical analysis versus diagnosis. There's an analytical way to understand what is going on inside of you. So personally, dealing with mold, I've got to do nasal spray, colloidal silver. I use grapefruit seed extract, or I use essential oils of holy basil or rosemary. Put too much rosemary, oh my God, does it wake you up? I can't tolerate too much. I put 1 drop of rosemary in my whole colloidal silver nasal spray.
So that's what I need to start doing.
Yeah, you do definitely. And do you have mold where you live? Because your organic acid testing suggests that you do.
Yes, Oh my.
So now, guys, we should start a fund. If you guys turn around and you buy Vitalometry and you use the Doc Misak code and get 15% off, we give Annie a little bit of support that way. Annie needs to do some more testing. Hair analysis, like $100. The mycotox testing is another $300. The toxin testing is another $169. So $469. We need to raise about $500 to $600 for testing for Annie. So we can go ahead and do this for her and keep educating and help her to do this. So if you guys want to help support Annie, take advantage, do it, hook up with her. But what we're trying to do is use this as an example to show you what this stuff teaches you. And so I don't know if I'm still connected because the last chat that I have is red label that says good morning, everybody. Am I on the right chat still?
Maybe not. I have a few people. Let me bring you my phone just because.
Yeah, maybe I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah.
And I got
when we went to launch this morning, we had to try 4 different times, and I'm not sure why, but maybe that's what built us some, different links.
Okay,
So
I
sorry,
think that
jeez.
I think that I'm on the wrong show
Here, I'm gonna.
then. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna go and get out of here and try to go in, people. You bringing me live?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
Oh, that's totally different. Yeah, that's not what I have. You're bringing me live. Ah. Okay. It's me. Oh, that's totally different. Yeah, that's not. All right, delay. Good. Okay, here we are. Now I have the same chat, and I can go through and see what you guys are saying. Somehow we started two shows this morning, so let's see what we got. Hello, everybody. Lexa Pro is no more than a pure nightmare. Yeah, I will. We could talk about that. A friend said she heard that a woman should take omega 7s. What do you say, Doc? Most of the research is done on omega 3s, omega 9s, monounsaturated fats. There is a little bit of study out on omega 14s. I like to use a product called sockeye salmon oil from Vital Choice because they have 34 known essential fatty acids from omega 1 to omega 30 something that is in there because it's a natural whole food based oil. And so I don't know specific research on omega 7s. Most of us read about omega 3s, which are DHA and EPA that convert, and we hear it for controlling inflammation, for helping good cholesterol, for feeding the brain. I don't know enough about omega 7s that tell me of why I would recommend them. There we go. Why have I been waiting on the wrong video? Good morning, Betty. So there could be molds that are not visible. Heck yeah. When we were on, they gave case reports, and if you go and watch this stuff on videos where people had one little black spot of mold in their bathroom, and then when they opened up the wall, it was completely all the way blown, completely through their whole bathroom, everywhere, total mold overgrowth. Mycotoxins are smaller than fine particulate that we're breathing in. They're like 0.5 to 5 microns. And so when you're even as when you're going 1 micron, those are smaller than what those little masks pick up. So when I cleaned out all that mold in my house, I was protecting myself from mold spores that would be picked up by those filtration. But mycotoxins go right through it. They go right absorbed through your lungs, through your tissues. And mycotoxins is what we were testing for. Ochratoxin A, mycophenolic acid. Those mycotoxins are what causes cancer and all these other things from being exposure to mold. So you can have a little spot of mold, but yet it can be loaded if you've got mold. I had somebody recently come to my office and said, Doc, you said that there was mold, and I was adamant that there was none. Well, guess what? We're now pulling our bathroom apart. There was a water leak. We have mold throughout our walls. We're having remediation done. And since they've started remediation and blocked it off, I'm already feeling better. And how did I know? It was her organic acid test to say, look, you've got mold exposure. And she's like, no, I don't. And she went home and looked, and sure enough, they had a water leak that had been hidden inside their walls and just loading up, just drip, 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 and that was causing it. So just to give you an idea, mold is a nightmare, people. When you look at viruses need you to live. Bacteria need you to live. Mold just wants to destroy you. Mold doesn't need you. It wants to eat you. So it's a horrible thing. Let's look and see what else we have here. Let's see. Good morning, Jackie. Natural Grocers has the best curry. Did you hear that, Annie?
Yeah, I found like a local grocery store, and I went in and bought their curry powder because I'm looking.
Yeah, I like going to.
Thank you.
I like going to those offbeat Asian stores and grocery stores and stuff. They have the best things that you try there. I show 22. YouTube is messing with us. They may be. Good morning. 21 watching and 10 thumbs up. Come on, people. Please, everybody give that thumbs up. That's how we get those markers that give us some credibility on YouTube. Please, everybody, just reach down there and hit your computer and thumbs up. We're all waiting on the other video. I agree. YouTube is messing. Very possible. Thank you, Linda. What's up, Doc? Glad I found you. Don't stop. Mine keeps spinning. Don't stop. Yes. Okay. What is good for sinus infections? I use a colloidal silver nasal spray, and I put either a drop of, essential oil. You can put a drop of eucalyptus in there. You can put a drop of holy basil, works really well. You can get grapefruit seed extract called citricidal, and you can put up to 10 or 15 drops in there. Powerfully antimicrobial, antifungal, helps to clear that stuff out. I've had people have chronic sinus infections use the colloidal silver alone, clear things, yet alone using colloidal silver with something in there to help clear it up. So great idea for Annie, Diana. Yes, if you guys want to help get this girl tested and help us figure us out what she's done to make this show live and all the things that you're seeing on here, thank you, Annie, right?
Happy to help. Everybody needs to hear what you're saying.
On vitalometry. Linda, I've been taking it for well over a year. My hair has grown in much thicker. An old wart is shrinking. That's because of immune benefication. A small mole has fallen off of my breast. All is good. Thank you, Linda. We have testimonies come through for vitalometry that we can only call them as testimonies, and we're trying to figure out how to share those testimonies because the FTC, who governs what we put on the internet, says that a testimony is a claim by association. Hey, if that person put it out there and said that this happened, then you're claiming that it's going to happen for the next person by putting it on your website. So we're trying to figure out how to do it. Possibly we'll put all these testimonies that we've had on social media and start reaching out, but it's kind of scary what we're allowed to say and not allowed to say. We could be like some people who just say what the and go out there and say whatever we want because we have freedom of speech. But people, unfortunately, what we say is governed, and the reason that you can't find me on YouTube is because they don't like what I'm teaching. Bottom line, you can go in their search engine and put doc, DOC space, and at that point you would think that I would pop up. And then you put doc MIS. I still don't pop up. You can put Doc Misak in their search engine, and I still won't pop up. You won't find me until you actually know how to find my channel. You can go put God's Healing by the Numbers, which is all the names of every show, or Healing or Health by the Numbers, which is the shows that I've done, and put it in a search engine, and none of my shows will pop up until you put Misak in there. And so people, they don't want you to know about this stuff. Why? I don't know. You can figure it out where the money goes. Thank you much. Now we have 19 thumbs up. Good job, people. Thank you. Last summer, I made a point to walk barefoot in my yard to ground myself. My brother says I could get worms from doing that. Is it okay to do? You can get worms and bites and stuff. If you go back, I got a book. It's not over there right now. It's a historical book on naturopathic medicine that talks about all the historical healers that made an impact. And there was a guy, and I think it was Revisi or something like that. It started with an R back in the 1700s, who talked about getting out and walking barefoot in the morning. And that barefoot walking connects us not only to earthing principles have been shown. I have an earthing mat on my bed because you're discharging electricity and grounding yourself, because most of us are wearing these shoes, and you like my little toe shoes that I wear, but that have rubber. And so we're not grounding ourselves to the planet, and that we're not discharging. We're not electrically, we're holding on to our static electricity. And earthing has been shown to lower blood pressure and connect people. In Japan, they've shown that foresting, getting out into nature, lowers blood pressure, lowers cholesterol. That there's a connection that we're supposed to have. And so historical hydrotherapy, where you're using water to manipulate circulation, and getting out and walking on the crisp, wet grass in the morning stimulates blood flow and circulation. So if you're worried about parasites and stuff like that, then you must feel that your inner terrain isn't ready to handle, your immune system's not ready to handle that. So the idea is to make it an inhospitable place. Is that possibility exist? Sure. But I'm not going to live in fear, people. I've got God of the universe watching over me. And otherwise, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying, because there's going to be a crosshairs on my head to say, that guy needs to shut up, because he's going to teach and equip people to take care of their health versus them relying upon our system and buying in and paying money for the rest of their life, and the majority of what they're going to give their kids in the last 3 months to stay alive by paying for their life support in our healthcare system. And that's what most people do. If you look at when do you spend the most money in your life? It's the last 3 months of life. And people go and they turn around. I got a brother right now. If you guys are out there and you want to pray, I got a brother-in-law who's literally on life support. He just went through 4 surgeries. One of them fell apart, botched. He's on life support down in Charlotte. His last surgery yesterday, it actually held. He's actually in recovery, but he's still on a breathing machine and everything. And nasty, bad case scenario, people. And is he going to listen and do what I would do in the meantime and what I told him to do? No. Darrell's Darrell, and they live by the system. But pray. His name is Jerry. Pray for him, people. Everybody out there. We're all 2 or more meet in the name of Jesus. He is there and he is hearing us, and God honors that. Here's our prayers, and let's get Jerry out of that bed, people. And so be with me on that. And so I wholeheartedly believe that. Let's see. Thanks, Doc. I'll keep walking on the grass. It feels good. It should. Walk on the snow one morning. Not a bad thing to do. Curry needs to be put in the freezer to stay fresh, by the way, and it will lose its flavor fast if you don't. God is still a miracle maker. Every single day he's doing miracles. I've seen miracles in my practice of people who are not supposed to get better and do. And that's because, if you're looking at RBTI and what's defined as perfect, there's no system medicine that defines what perfect is except for RBTI, Reen's biological theory, and this bioelectric chemical process that I'm teaching you. Guess what? Perfect is in every one of us. It is there. To achieve it, sometimes not worth it. I can't live that lifestyle. You got to be off the grid. Do you think about what affects it? Electromagnetic fields. We talk about Tesla and Einstein and quantum physics and EMF and 5G and all that crap. What's in our skies? They're not spraying chemtrails yet today. That's a good thing in Pittsburgh. They're letting us have a day of clean skies. So get out and enjoy this weather. And but people, you're involved with so much environmental toxins, and to actually get your numbers to go perfect, the lifestyle that it would require and the monitoring that it require is a little more than I'm personally willing to do. But getting in the healing range, not hard to do. Eat high quality foods, drink pure distilled water, take the right minerals based on where your chemistry is. And now, where we're still seeing difficulty, organic acid testing, this is Annie's organic acid testing, mycotoxin testing, these type of things. To do organic acid testing, bottom line, I don't charge you. The lab charges you $309, people. At flat line costs, $309. The lab analysis that they do is beyond compare, and it's well worth it for all the markers that they're doing for $309. Mycotoxin testing, $299. Environmental toxin testing, if you add it on to one of these tests, $169. So you can do all 3 of those tests, $777, and get the most incredible functional medicine approach that you've ever seen. Now, my theory of why my organic acid test is near perfect is RBTI, is because of the way that I try to eat, the supplements that I try to be consistent with, the way that I know what I need to do to kind of keep my chemistry in perspective. And I think that efficiency that I do with RBTI is why my organic acid testing is fairly normal. I had another person recently have a fairly normal fairly normal organic acid test, but their environmental toxin testing was way off the bat. And that explained the symptoms that we were seeing that I couldn't see with RBTI, but I knew something was wrong. Their organic acid and their environmental toxin testing explained to me the why and gave me a functional, hey, let's add these nutrients, because this was before Dr. Kerry Reams, and he didn't know about some of this stuff because it wasn't researched yet. So we're just tying it all together. So people, I think we've done a whole hour.
Yep.
Let's see what we got. World famous crow. Thanks to Dr. Misak and Andy for doing this on Saturdays. It's great info. Don't forget to do your disclaimer. Disclaimer: we do not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. We are not replacing or scrutinizing or slandering people who have a different medical viewpoint. But we are going to teach you health, people. I want to teach truth. Finally, great show. Thanks for praying for Jerry. I appreciated that. And Kathy says, my dad recently had a double lung transplant. Oh, my God. Sorry to hear that. Try to find natural ways to help him recover. RBTI, I'm telling you, he needs the lungs need more minerals than any tissue of the body. I would at least start with those colloidal mineral complexes that we talked about, the inner vitality, liquid minerals, and getting some colloidal minerals. Give him a couple Mincol a day. Mincol has trace minerals in it. He's totally minerally depleted. Otherwise, RBTI and measuring his values is the way to do it. We should still have it going across the screen that we're having a retreat. I'm going to finish on that. That's how you learn. That's how we equip you. Come in, learn to test, learn to understand this stuff, and eat some incredible food. May 27th to May 31st. It's going to be here in Pittsburgh area in Carnegie's, where we're trying to get the same platform of where we had it last time. Betty sent me an email this morning saying, hey, I found a place to have it in Kentucky. Might be something to consider. But May 27th to 31st, we're going to be here in Pittsburgh. If you're interested in a retreat, email my office at pittsburghalternativehealth.com. If you go to the website, pittsburghalternativehealth.com, and contact us, you can email us through there. And just put retreat in the subject line. You will get put on the list. We're trying to confirm site. Once we have the site confirmed, everybody's going to start getting emailed. And then we're going to, and all of the information and the sign-up information. We have so many people showing interest. We only have 20 slots, people. 20 is all we can handle right now until we have more people volunteering and helping on the food end. So we're going to do 20 people. And believe me, we have had many more than 20 people. So once we put the information out there, it's going to be the first 20 that are able to commit financially is how we're going to have to make that decision. So thanks again. I enjoyed it. Next week, maybe I'll teach about molds. I don't know. We're trying to figure out what we want to keep carrying on and give you guys information. But just thank you. Thank you for prayer for Jerry. Thank you for just listening. Thank you for thumbs up and sharing. That's the only way that this is going to grow and help more people. Until next week, just take care and God bless you all. Thanks for being on.